Hello students, in this video I will talk about the adrenal medulla. Adrenal glands, or otherwise called as the suprarenal glands, these are the small triangle shaped glands located on the top of each kidney. Adrenal gland is composed of two parts, the outer cortex and the inner medulla. So in this video I will discuss elaborately on the adrenal medulla. Adrenal medulla forms the inner zone of the adrenal gland. Histologically, the medulla is made of cells called as the chromaffin cells, and these cells are separated from each other by the venous sinuses. Now, why they are called as the chromaffin cells? They are called so because they have got the greater affinity for the chromium stains. There are two types of chromaffin cells. One type of cells produce the hormone epinephrine, and this constitute around 80% of the cells. The other type is the norepinephrine producing cells, and this accounts for the remaining 20% of the cells. Numerous vesicles are present in a chromaffin cell. Inside these vesicles are located the granules which contains the catecholamines. Three major hormones are synthesized by the adrenal medulla. One is epinephrine, otherwise called as adrenaline. Second one is the norepinephrine, which is otherwise called as noradrenaline. And the third one is the dopamine. Epinephrine is produced in enormous quantities when compared to that of the norepinephrine. All these three hormones are collectively called as the catecholamines. The splanchnic nerves comprises of the preganglionic sympathetic fibers which terminates around the medulla. These fibers arise from the lower thoracic segments, that is from T5 to T9 of the ipsilateral intermediolateral gray column of the spinal cord. The adrenal medulla is considered to be the enlarged as well as specialized sympathetic ganglion. Functionally, the chromaffin cells are considered to be the modified postganglionic neurons which have lost their axons and got embedded inside the adrenal medulla. So, the splanchnic nerve arises from the lower thoracic segments, that is T5 to T9 of the spinal cord. This consists of the preganglionic sympathetic fibers, and they reach the adrenal medulla. So, the medulla is considered to be the sympathetic ganglion, and the chromaffin cells are considered to be the postganglionic neurons. Epinephrine is almost exclusively produced by the adrenal medulla. This finding can be substantiated in the patients who had undergone removal of the adrenal glands due to some specific pathology. They have practically zero epinephrine in their urine. So this suggests that medulla is the only source of epinephrine. But whereas norepinephrine is widely distributed in the neural tissues as well as in the medulla, it is secreted in very smaller quantities. Again, if we take the same patients with the absence of adrenal glands, they have got normal levels of norepinephrine in their urine. So, we can infer that norepinephrine originates from extraadrenal sources also. The raw material for the synthesis of catecholamines is tyrosine. This is obtained from two ways. One is from the diet, the other is from the hydroxylation of phenylalanine by the enzyme called as the phenylalanine hydroxylase. Now, this tyrosine is converted to DOPA, that is dehydroxyphenylalanine. This reaction takes place in the cytoplasm of the chromaffin cells. The conversion of DOPA to dopamine occurs in the cytoplasm, and this is catalyzed by the enzyme DOPA decarboxylase in the presence of pyridoxal phosphate as a cofactor. Now, this dopamine enters into the chromaffin granules and gets converted into norepinephrine in the presence of enzyme called as the dopamine beta hydroxylase. The norepinephrine which is produced inside the granules diffuses back into the cytoplasm and gets converted to epinephrine by the enzyme called as the phenylethanolamine N-methyl transferase, shortly called as the PNMT, using S-adenosyl methionine as the methyl donor. The epinephrine and other catecholamines formed in the cytoplasm gets inside the chromaffin granules again, which is an active process. The catecholamines are produced or stored along with calcium, ATP and chromogranins as a complex compound. The adrenal medulla is mostly activated along with the sympathetic nervous system, especially during stress and emergency situations. Various stimuli like trauma, pain, and anxiety can cause activation of the sympathetic system, which are sensed by the higher centers of the central nervous system. Now, the nerve impulses travel along the greater splanchnic nerve and activates the adrenal medulla by releasing the neurotransmitter, that is the acetylcholine. This acetylcholine will stimulate the nicotinic receptors present on the cells of the adrenal medulla, and this leads to increase in the sodium entry, finally leading to the depolarization. Now, this depolarization, which occurs due to entry of the sodium ions into the cell, again can trigger influx of calcium ions, and this can stimulate the exocytosis of the secretory granules. And so finally the catecholamines are released into the circulation from the granules. In any emergency situation, adrenal medulla is activated, and this occurs as a part of the sympathetic response. Various stimuli for the release of the catecholamines from the granules are anxiety, anger and aggression, pain, trauma, hypovolemia, hypotension, anoxia, hypoglycemia and severe exercise. So, various stimuli like trauma, pain, anxiety and hypovolemia are sensed by the higher centers of the CNS and causes the secretion of the catecholamines from both the adrenal medulla as well as from the sympathetic nervous system. The nerve impulses travel along the greater splanchnic nerve and stimulates the adrenal medulla to release epinephrine, which will act on the distant target cells. The sympathetic ganglia also releases the norepinephrine into the synaptic cleft, which will act on the target cell at the point where it is released. One important fact to be noted is the stimulation of the adrenal medulla also can occur independent of the sympathetic discharge. For example, hypoglycemia can stimulate adrenal medulla producing the secretion of the catecholamines without activating the sympathetic system. The basal plasma level of the adrenaline is 3 microgram per deciliter, whereas noradrenaline and dopamine are 30 microgram and 3.5 microgram respectively. These catecholamines has got a very short lifespan, around 1 to 3 minutes. Both epinephrine and norepinephrine are degraded to metanephrine and normetanephrine by the enzyme called as the catecholamine O-methyl transferase, and both of them are finally metabolized to vanillyl mandelic acid and methoxyhydroxyl phenyl glycol in the presence of the enzyme called as the monoamine oxidase. Vanillyl mandelic acid and methoxyhydroxyl phenyl glycol both mainly they reflect the sympathetic activity because they are mostly derived from the norepinephrine. So as I've told in my previous slides that norepinephrine can be obtained from the extraadrenal sources also. So if we want to know the activity of the adrenal medulla exclusively, it is ideal to measure either plasma levels of epinephrine or free urinary epinephrine. Catecholamines exert their physiological mechanisms by acting on two types of receptors, alpha receptors and the beta receptors. There are two types of alpha receptors, alpha 1 and alpha 2, and three types of beta receptors, beta 1, beta 2 and beta 3 receptors. This is a general statement that Alpha receptors are associated with most of the excitatory functions except the inhibition of the intestinal motility, and beta receptors are associated with most of the inhibitory functions of the body except the excitation of the myocardium. Regarding the mechanism of action of the catecholamines at various receptors, alpha 1 receptor hormone complex through G protein activate the enzyme phospholipase C, and through second messengers, that is the inositol triphosphate and diacylglycerol, they exert their physiological actions. Now all the three beta receptors combine with the hormone and activate the stimulatory G protein, which in turn activates the adenyl cyclase. So the action of the catecholamines through these receptors is mediated by increase in the cyclic AMP in the cell. Alpha 2 receptors combine with the hormone, which activates the inhibitory G protein, and this again activates adenyl cyclase, and the action is mediated by decrease in the cyclic AMP because it is a G inhibitory protein. Epinephrine is a very strong agonist on the beta 2 receptors when compared to norepinephrine. Epinephrine has got profound effects on the alpha 1 receptor rather than the norepinephrine, and when it comes to the alpha 2 receptor, it is a reverse, that is norepinephrine is a strong agonist when compared to that of epinephrine. On beta 1 receptors, both epinephrine and norepinephrine has got the same amount of action. Catecholamines play a very important role in stress and emotions, and also in emergency situations. Sudden exposure to any type of stress causes the sympathetic alarm reaction, that is the stimulation of the adrenergic neurons of the hypothalamus finally leads to the release of epinephrine from the adrenal medulla and norepinephrine from the sympathetic ganglia. The catecholamines are very much needed for life to handle the stress and the emergency situations, but not essential for life. Catecholamines increases the oxygen consumption as well as the carbon dioxide output. It raises the BMR. Epinephrine produces hyperglycemia, so that glucose is made available for the brain and other tissues to analyze and handle the emergency situations. Hyperglycemia is obtained by various mechanisms. The first one is glycogenolysis is stimulated in the liver so that more glucose enters into the circulation. Second one is it inhibits the glycogen synthesis, so the glucose stays in the blood itself. Third one is it stimulates the gluconeogenesis in the liver using amino acids and lactate. And finally, ACTH is stimulated, which will enhance the cortisol secretion, and this cortisol is a potent gluconeogenic hormone, and also it inhibits the insulin secretion and also augments the glucagon secretion, which can amplify the hyperglycemic effects. So catecholamines are the pro-diabetogenic hormone. That's why long-term stress can cause diabetes mellitus. And this secretion of catecholamines is also increased in hypoglycemia, especially during fasting and exercise. Norepinephrine has got more actions on the lipid metabolism rather than the epinephrine. It increases the lipolysis, which causes increase in the free fatty acids as well as the ketone bodies, and these are used as the energy source for both the heart and the muscle. So the catecholamines are also the pro-ketogenic hormone. Catecholamines increases the basal metabolic rate by 10 to 15%, and these catecholamines causes the non-shivering thermogenesis or chemical thermogenesis. What is this actually? This is a mechanism of increasing the heat production by the body, especially in very cold climatic conditions. The heat production is increased because of the increased cellular metabolism, and this is associated with the uncoupling of the oxidative phosphorylation. This means the foodstuffs are actually oxidized to release heat rather than the ATPs. Instead, usually the foodstuffs are oxidized to produce ATPs, but here it is oxidized to release heat. Both the increased sympathetic stimulation as well as the increased secretion of the catecholamines can cause this chemical thermogenesis. Now, the amount of the chemical thermogenesis is directly proportional to the amount of fat, that is a brown fat, present in the tissues, because this brown fat contains large number of special mitochondria to carry out this process of producing heat. Adults actually do not have brown fat, so the heat production by this mechanism is very negligible in case of adults. But the infants have got a lot of brown fat in various areas like interscapular area, around the neck, behind the sternum, and also around the kidneys. So, the enhanced secretion of the catecholamines can increase the heat production by 100% in case of infants by this process of chemical thermogenesis. This is how the newborns and infants adjust the body to severe cold without going for hypothermia. What are the effects of the catecholamines on the cardiovascular system? Epinephrine increases the heart rate and the force of the myocardial contraction, and therefore the cardiac output is also increased. Due to increased cardiac output, the systolic pressure will increase. Now, it causes selective arteriolar constriction in the renal, splanchnic, and the cutaneous vascular bed. But epinephrine produces vasodilatation in the skeletal and the hepatic circulation through the beta 2 receptors. This vasodilatation effect of the epinephrine overtakes the vasoconstriction effect, so the total peripheral resistance always falls. Because of the fall in the total peripheral resistance, the diastolic pressure also decreases. So the systolic pressure is higher, whereas the diastolic pressure has decreased, so the pulse pressure widens. This occurs especially during the sympathetic stimulation, which occurs during exercise. So the main advantage of all these changes is to divert the blood, or to channelize the blood from the splanchnic and the cutaneous circulation to the exercising muscles, by also maintaining the cerebral and the coronary blood flow. These changes also occurs during the stress. Norepinephrine produces vasoconstriction in most of the organs through the alpha 1 receptors. So, this will increase the peripheral resistance, and so the diastolic pressure also raises. Norepinephrine also produces some amount of tachycardia and also increases the myocardial contractility. Therefore, the systolic blood pressure is also increased. So, both systolic and diastolic pressure are increased. So the hypertension is produced. This hypertension produced by norepinephrine will stimulate the baroreceptors present in the carotid sinus and the aortic arch. That is, it will activate the baroreceptor reflex, which can cause the reflex bradycardia. So the net final effect will be decrease in the heart rate and the cardiac output in spite of increased peripheral resistance. Catecholamines act on the smooth muscles of the bronchioles to cause bronchodilation. These catecholamines in smaller doses, on acting through the beta 2 receptors, can increase the rate and the force of respiration. But rapid IV infusion of epinephrine causes transient inhibition of the respiratory center, and this causes apnea, that is called as the adrenaline apnea. Now, coming to the actions of catecholamines on the smooth muscle. Catecholamines causes mydriasis. Mydriasis is the pupillary dilatation. This occurs through the alpha receptors, and it also causes the relaxation of the ciliary muscle through the beta receptors, and this produces the flattening of the lens. Both these effects first allow the individual to have a better far vision to see the surroundings clearly so that he or she can assess the emergency situation and act accordingly. Epinephrine through the beta receptors causes relaxation of the smooth muscles of the gut so that the tone as well as the motility of the GIT is decreased. Also, it causes the contraction of the sphincters of the gut through the alpha receptors. So, both these effects tend to produce constipation in a stressed individual. Epinephrine causes relaxation of the detrusor muscle through the beta 2 receptors, and the contraction of the trigone as well as the sphincter is increased through the alpha 1 receptors. So, the action through two different receptors can combinedly cause the retention of urine. Through beta 2 receptors, the catecholamines can relax the smooth muscles of the bronchioles, and this leads to bronchodilation. Adrenaline increases the activity of the brain. Through beta receptors, it stimulates the reticular activating system, and this leads to arousal and alerting responses, which facilitates anxiety, apprehension, and coarse tremors of the extremities. Catecholamines mainly act through the alpha receptors to cause piloerection of hair. It also acts on the sweat glands to produce adrenergic sweating. Adrenergic sweating is the sweating which is localized to palms and soles. There is a different entity called as cholinergic sweating. This is the generalized sweating produced in different parts of the body through the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. But what we get here because of the action of catecholamines is the adrenergic sweating, and this is localized to the palms and soles. Epinephrine acts through the beta 2 receptors on the skeletal muscles, and this causes vasodilation in the skeletal muscles and also produces severe contraction and fatigue of the muscle. It also increases the glycogenolysis, and this favors the release of glucose into the blood. Catecholamines can cause mild increase in the secretion of the salivary glands, apocrine sweat glands, and the lacrimal glands. Um, Epinephrine produces these effects on the blood, that is the increased RBC count, hemoglobin content, and neutrophilia. So here in this slide, I had summarized the effects of the epinephrine and norepinephrine on both alpha and beta receptors with regard to metabolism. What is a fight or flight reaction? During any emergency situation, an individual can either fight to overcome the situation or run away from the place to escape from the situation. For example, if we see a tiger in front of us, it is an emergency situation. Either we should fight with the tiger or should run away from the place to save the life. This is called as the fight or flight reaction. So, this is a typical response of the sympathetic activation, but the secretion of catecholamines from the adrenal medulla also contributes a very significant part to this response. This occurs in critical situations of life when one has to either fight the situation or flee from the situation. For example, norepinephrine and epinephrine has got widespread effects on the cardiovascular system, respiratory system, and the gastrointestinal system, and also the metabolism to prepare the individual for handling the emergency situations. They increase the cardiac output and ventilation and stimulate all forms of energy supply, relax the smooth muscles of the gastrointestinal tract and the urinary system, and also causes piloerection and pupillary dilatation. All these effects are carried out to either fight with the enemy or run away or escape fast from the enemy. This is called the fight or flight response. Dopamine increases the cardiac output through the beta 1 receptors. It produces renal and mesenteric vasodilatation but causes vasoconstriction in other parts of the body. Apart from the catecholamines, the various other peptides produced by the adrenal medulla are adrenomedulin, chromogranin, neuropeptide Y, enkephalins and beta endorphins. With regard to chromogranin, this is a protein present in the secretory granules of the chromaffin cells. They are secreted along with the catecholamines from the granules. So, when we measure their concentration in plasma, it conveys about the secretory activity of the chromaffin cells, and this will indirectly tells us the rate of the catecholamine secretion. Both agonists and antagonists of the catecholamines are regularly used in clinical practice. Alpha agonists like phenylephrine are used as nasal decongestants. Both alpha and beta blockers, that is the alpha and beta receptor antagonists, are used in the treatment of hypertension. Catecholamines are used for the treatment of shock, especially dopamine for traumatic and cardiogenic shock. Coming to the applied aspects of the adrenal medulla, pheochromocytoma is a rare benign tumor of the adrenal medulla due to hyperplasia of the chromaffin cells. So, these cells secrete larger amounts of epinephrine and norepinephrine. It is often called as the 10% tumor because 10% of all the pheochromocytomas are malignant and 10% of the tumors are bilaterally situated, and 10% are found in extra-adrenal locations, that is found outside the adrenal gland. They can be found anywhere along the sympathetic nervous chain, and 10% occurs in children, and recurrences are possible in 10% of the cases. The most common presenting feature is most of the patients have a treatment resistant hypertension. So, whenever the patient presents with the clinical manifestations of hypertension, and they are resistant to the antihypertensives what we give, we always should consider the diagnosis of this tumor. The triad present here is headache, sweating and palpitation. All these are due to the sympathetic stimulation. Next is hyperglycemia, because these catecholamines are pro-diabetogenic hormones. It causes anxiety and increased body temperature. If the patient is refractory to antihypertensive medications, we are supposed to do these investigations to rule out this tumor. 24-hour urinary excretion of vanillyl mandelic acid, metanephrines and catecholamines, plasma epinephrine and norepinephrine, CT scan and radionuclide studies to locate the tumor, and the treatment is a surgical excision of the tumor followed by alpha and beta receptor antagonists. So, in this video, I had given a brief description of the hormones produced by the adrenal medulla. Thank you. In this slide, I had summarized the effects of catecholamines on the smooth muscles and skeletal muscles as well as on the cardiovascular system.